I'm just gonna look like such a dork no matter what.
Uh-huh.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hi.
It's
How's it
me,
going?
Liz.
I'm Amy,
Hey, and
and
this is
this
Girl
is
Spooky. Uh-huh.
uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So Amy and I
Yeah.
are both turning 30 bitches in the next like month and a half. Amy's
Wow.
first, then me,
Mm-hmm.
because she's old.
Old. By exactly 1 month older.
But exactly a month. And it shows.
You can tell.
In her maturity, not her looks, obviously.
No.
But I am having a costume party for my birthday, and we are trying to figure out what I should be. And I was telling her that my original plan, my boyfriend and I were going to be Arwen and Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm not 100% sure I want to do that just because I don't know that people are going to know who I am.
Mm-hmm. But
So I
either
don't
like
know.
if you get the ears, the pointy
Mhm.
ears, they'll
Yeah.
know what category of
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah. Nerd.
she's an elf, right?
Yeah, she's an
Yeah.
elf.
So,
She is an elf.
you could just be any generic elf. They don't need to know
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true. That's true. The other ones, I'm going through I have a long list of possible ones.
Okay.
Um
Wait, really
uh,
quick. How would
yeah.
Noah be Aragorn? Because he
Okay.
doesn't have
Is that
long
what you're
hair.
laughing about? I know, we'd get a wig. We'd get a wig.
I'm trying to
And that
picture it.
and we'd
Uh,
have to get him like a cape also, which is hilarious to think of. Him in
okay.
costume is just
Uh-huh.
hilarious. Like, I cannot wait. And he has to do it because it's my birthday.
Yeah, he should just be Aragorn and you would just be something totally different.
He listens to these. So he's going to be like, screw you guys. Um, okay, well, one that I thought would be so funny is Willy Wonka. Like,
Uh-huh.
I could be Willy Wonka.
Yes, I could see that.
Right?
That'd
Wouldn't
be
that be
cool.
funny?
Uh-huh.
The other cool one would be the Cheshire Cat, but that one would be kind of hard. It's like
Uh-huh.
I'd have to do like full face paint, and I don't think I want
Right.
to do that.
Yeah, that's a big undertaking.
Yeah. I have a lot of guys on here, like George Michael,
Oh
Freddie
yeah.
Mercury. Those would be
Uh-huh.
good ones.
Yep.
Hamburglar. That
That's
one would be
funny.
funny.
Yeah. I feel like we talked
um,
about that last
we
year
did.
on the
We
podcast.
did. I think we did.
Maybe you have to do it.
I know. Morticia Adams, because I've
Mm-hmm.
been Wednesday so many times.
Yep.
The Devil, just going
Uh-huh.
real OG.
Yep.
Poison Ivy, that one could be kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool. Or
Yes.
Harley Quinn. Um, I like the idea of Lilu from The Fifth Element, but she's like basically naked and it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
I'm
probably
thinking
not.
not that.
Uh-huh.
Well, I've just like outed all of my best options,
Ideas.
but
Well,
yeah, so if you guys have any other ideas, let me know.
yeah.
I feel like our win would be fun. I feel like it could be
Yeah.
cool. If we did it right, it could be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just
Little
still stuck
ears.
on the thought of him
Noah.
being Aragorn and you just not not following through.
Not dressing up at all.
Yeah,
I
or
just come
just
as myself.
yeah.
Imagine. Oh my god, he would kill me. He'd probably break up with me on the spot. He'd be
No.
like, and throw.
This is
Great, thank
over.
you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, and I'd be like, are you sure? Are you sure
Uh-huh.
this isn't just like a elf thing, you know?
Uh-huh.
Um I can't remember what happens in the movies. I think her dad doesn't want them to be together. So I'm gonna be like, have you talked to my father again? I've been talking to my father. Has he been discouraging this?
Yes. Perfect.
He'd be like, you're dead to me.
Oh
Not
god.
really.
No.
But the other one that would be really funny, but like it just seems like a lot of work is an internet soundboard.
How would you do
So
that?
I'd put like little squares and label them. And then when people
Oh,
press it, it'd be like, me pat, or like, bing
okay.
bong, fuck your life.
Yeah.
And I would just say it.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Or
that
like,
would be very unique.
sensational. Yeah. Cheesecake, sensational. Um,
That'd be kind of
yeah.
cool.
But then it's also an excuse for people to just like touch me all night, which I
Yeah,
don't think I want.
that's right. Yeah,
So
no, probably not.
I need to noodle on it.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll just like go rogue and be like Ghostface, just wear a mask.
why
And
not?
people are like, "Where's Olivia?" Like, I don't know.
Who knows?
Who
Turns into
knows,
a
man?
mystery party. They
Hmm.
have to find you.
What if I did that? What if I staged a murder mystery party
That
and
would
people
be
didn't know
so
until they
cool.
came? That sounds like something out of The Office or
Yeah, it
like
does.
Parks and Rec.
Uh-huh. I would be
um,
so thrilled if that
I'd be
happened to me.
delighted. I would be delighted. I
Yeah.
know. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, someone on Instagram, I think originally TikTok, put together, because you know how it's like, it's fall, like here are fun, or it's like almost fall, like here's some fun like fall-y movies to get you in the mood. And it's like they're not really fall movies, but they're movies that just feel like fall, which weirdly I agree with all of them
Yeah.
being like that season.
Hmm.
But then someone was like, screw your fall movies. Here are all of the like Halloween episodes of your favorite shows. And it's like
Whoa.
season 2, episode 13, like of all of these different shows. I have to
Wow.
go back and find it. I think I sent it to Noah maybe. And I was like, and
Yeah.
then they did it for Disney shows too, which like I weirdly love still
Yeah. Oh,
sometimes.
same. Like Lizzie
Yeah.
McGuire.
So yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, remember when we used to rewatch those?
Yeah. I do. That was so fun.
Oh, that was so fun. We did have some like good, clean fun, didn't
Uh-huh.
we?
We did. It was a good mix for us
It was a good
of
mix.
what we did.
Yeah, raging face and good, clean
Yeah.
fun.
Wait,
Oh,
did we
Jesus.
did we talk about this already? The thing that's going around also on Instagram with Lizzie
Which
McGuire or
one?
Hilary Duff, I guess. One of her
No.
movies
Oh
where
my
she's
God,
standing up
no.
in the classroom and like
Oh my God, and
singing.
singing. And it's like, we all thought this slayed. And she's
Uh-huh.
like, ha, ha. And the class is like,
Exactly.
damn. Or when she's doing the ribbon dancing
Oh my
and it's just like
God.
slow
Yeah.
mo and she's just spinning around.
Yeah. And isn't it playing that like da na 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 na
I
na
think
na
so.
and she's just jumping.
So funny, dude. Lizzie
Uh,
McGuire really like pulled one over on us.
yes, it did. But I
Hmm.
played that video of her singing for Dave and I he laughed so hard. And now I need to like memorize the riff and just sing
Yeah.
it to him. See what happens. Oh, that's my Halloween costume.
There you go,
And
Lizzie
then
McGuire.
just go
Wait,
around singing.
that'd be a good one with all her
Yeah.
little like butterfly clips and
Mhm.
stuff.
And like the little
I love that
cartoon
for
version,
you.
she
Yeah,
wears like the pink,
the tank top with the
yeah,
t-shirt underneath.
and then the orange sandals. Yeah.
Oh my
Cute.
God, wait. You have to do that. That's so cute.
Yeah. And you be
Oh my
Miranda
God.
from a
Oh my
distance.
God. With all of her like weird, like
Yeah,
sticky
like
uppy
ponytail.
hairstyles.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
I love it.
Um, I love that. Wow.
Mhm.
Um,
Same.
well, today, guys, we're talking about more witchy shit. And
Yes.
I'm very excited mainly to hear about Amy's because we talked about it last week. Mine is a little bit shorter than usual, but I did one main topic and then it kind of bled over into another topic that we've covered a couple times. So I'm just going to do
Okay.
like a little quickie
Mhm.
thing because, like, who knows if it's really stories about that other thing or if it's about this new thing.
Right.
Anyway, I'm not making sense, so I'm going to shut the fuck up. But
Okay.
Idol of Nightmares,
Yeah.
the stage
Well,
is yours.
mine is longer than usual. So
Perfect.
Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Yes. I'm too
Okay.
excited about yours. I want to hear
Okay.
yours.
Okay, perfect.
Because I
Okay.
didn't do any research about yours. I was like, that's
Oh,
Amy's topic.
yeah. Okay. It's scary. So get
Yay!
ready. And also, they even put a disclaimer on this at the beginning of their article
Mm-hmm.
saying people who, so people are affected by this even if they haven't like touched it. If you hear about it or see it, you might have
Fuck.
its effects.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
fair warning to everyone.
Okay,
Um,
wait. I'm sorry.
that's
Pause,
okay.
interrupting you right before you start. Can we talk for a second about how I smelled pond water in my bathroom?
Yeah, I keep meaning to follow up on that. What it went away.
Yeah, so I had Noah smell it. I was like afraid to ask him to smell it because if he smelled it, then it was real, and I was
Uh-huh.
like really scared.
Uh-huh.
So, as you guys probably remember, last week we talked about the Crown of the Catskills, and one of her like signature things, or its signature things, is a smell of like pond water, like pond
Yeah,
scum.
gross.
So later that evening, I go into my bathroom and I'm standing in there and I get a whiff of like, yeah, like muddy, like grassy water or something. And I was like, that's weird. And I was like, oh my God, maybe my towels are like smelly. But I had just
Yeah.
washed them. So I was like, maybe they were
Uh-huh.
just in the washer for too long. Anyway, I
Mm.
smell them. I'm like literally like making myself lightheaded. I'm sniffing so
Uh-huh.
hard.
Like a
I
bloodhound.
can't figure out where it's coming from. And I sit down to pee. And that's when it dawns on me when I'm locked now onto the toilet seat because I'm peeing. Oh my God, it
Uh-huh.
smells like fucking pond water.
Yeah.
Full panic. Full panic. Rip the shower curtain open, still sitting on the toilet.
Uh-huh.
Like, okay, she's not in there. Noah was in the other room. So I was like, okay, at least someone would hear me scream. Okay, it's fine. So I go out there and then I texted you and I was like, oh my God, I'm like freaking out about this. So then you were like, you asked, like, does Noah smell it? And I was like, I can't ask him. I just
Uh-huh.
felt like it was gonna speak it into truth. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, I can't. So I was like, can you come smell this with me? And he was like, what is happening right now? And I was like, no, it's not a trick. It's not a trick. Like, I'm scared,
Yeah.
please. And he was like, okay. So he's like, we go in the bathroom and he's like, I don't smell anything. And I was like, it
Hmm.
smells like scummy water. And he
Uh-huh.
was like, I don't really smell that. Like, I don't know. It just smells like a bathroom. And I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, but like my bathroom smells good usually. It smells like my like
Yeah.
perfume and like shampoo and
Right.
stuff. And he was like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I don't smell it. So he walked out and I was like, all right. I could still smell it. Then again, he's also always stuffed,
Uh-huh.
like
I was just gonna
congested. So I'm
ask.
like, well, I don't know. And then
Hmm.
he did say that later, like, well, I'm pretty stuffed up, so I don't know, maybe I'm just not smelling anything. But
Hmm.
then I went to pee in the middle of the night.
Of
Terrifying.
course. Yep.
Terrifying.
Uh-huh.
Um, Turned every light on the
Yeah.
way.
Uh-huh.
And as I was peeing though, as I was like going back out into the hallway, so my bathroom is right beside my front door, and I opened my front door and the hallway kind of smelled like it. So
Mm.
I actually think maybe someone like took their dog out and then brought them through the hallway, and then that was the smell. That's what I
Mhm.
told myself.
Yep.
I haven't smelled it since. Knock on wood, let's never smell it again.
Yeah.
But it scared the shit out of me for a good like day and a half. So
Yeah. I don't blame
it's
you.
great.
That
Yeah,
was
I was freaked out.
very odd timing on that
Yeah,
because it was
and
the day we recorded.
yes, I was like,
Mhm.
what are the odds that this would happen today? That someone would
Right.
bring their muddy dog when like
Right.
I mean, it has been raining, but that day it
Mhm.
wasn't raining. So I don't know.
Right.
It was weird and
Mhm.
freaky. And anyway, that's just to say the
Watch
shit can
out.
haunt you even if you're just hearing
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, watch out, bitches.
Watch out.
And
Yeah.
that's a threat.
Uh-huh. Seriously.
So,
So
anywho,
keep
back
us,
to you.
yeah, keep us posted because
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that will never return, but that's
No.
bizarre.
Yeah, very
So,
weird. If I disappear, it was her.
yep. Oh God, no.
I'm kidding. I won't disappear. I would
No.
fight her.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
She
Oh,
sounds like
God.
she's like crippled and little.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
didn't they say
I
she's
don't
like
know if we should
hunched?
underestimate
Yeah.
her. Yeah, hunched. But I have a feeling when she stands up, she's fucking terrifying. So,
Yeah, I'm sure. Either way, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's
Okay.
fuel my nightmares with a new
Yeah,
creature.
here we go. Especially because this
Perfect.
one is specifically about
Yeah.
nightmares. So
Oh
here
fuck.
we go.
Okay. Oh
It's,
no. I
yeah,
have such an active dream
I
world.
know. So do I. I do too.
Shit.
We're gonna have to like
Oh god.
cleanse after this
Yeah,
one.
okay. We cleanse.
So,
We cleanse.
yep. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, yes, this is the idol of nightmares, and it comes to us from the same people who have Crone of the Catskills that we were just talking about. And they are named Greg and Dana, and they have their haunted objects on display in their traveling museum. And so this story starts in September 2015. Greg and Dana were guests on a show called Coast to Coast AM. And on the show, they shared about what they do and like the haunted objects that they collect and all of that. And a couple days after the show aired, they received this email. So it said, Greg and Dana, caught your Coast to Coast show on Sunday and heard you talking about the Museum of the Paranormal. I have a statue that I think you would be interested in. I was going to send it to you, but when I saw how local you were, I hoped you might meet me halfway instead. It would save me shipping on a heavy item. I found the statue in the crawl space of our home several months ago, and my family and I have reason to
Oh.
believe it is haunted.
Oh,
I'm
in the crawl space?
yeah.
Already bad.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready to put it in the trash, but would rather give it to someone who will keep others from using it or maybe finding it. If you would like to know more, please email me, Tim. So Greg and Dana were open to taking the statue. So Greg and Tim arranged to meet in the middle to exchange the statue. So they met in a Walmart parking lot of all places.
All right. I mean,
And
public, I guess.
yeah, exactly. And Tim like heaves this statue, which is apparently pretty big and heavy, into Greg's arms. And the first thing he says is, well, he's your problem now. So
Oh
off
god.
to a good start.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he
Yeah.
was warned.
Uh-huh.
Greg was, I mean.
Yeah. Fair warning.
Yeah.
So, needing the backstory, Greg asks Tim to share like how he found this statue and what they've been experiencing. So,
Mhm.
here is the story. So, 6 months prior to our meeting, Tim had purchased a house on the outskirts of Dayton, Ohio, moving himself, his wife, and his young son into the home. One day, while running new cable through the basement of the house, Tim shimmied his way into a crawl space and discovered a burlap sack bound tightly with baling twine. It
Oof.
was, yeah, caked in cobwebs and appeared that it had been undisturbed for some time. Curious, Tim dragged the heavy bag out with him, dusted it off, and carried it upstairs to his office. As his family watched, he cut the twine and unwrapped the object to reveal a 2-foot statue of a man with long features, jet black aside from ivory eyes, and a strange triangular symbol on its forehead.
I'm trying to imagine 2 feet. That's
Picture
kind of
that.
big.
Yeah, that was funny. On my screen, you paused doing that, and your face was so like puzzled. Yeah. But yeah, that is pretty big. And all black except for the whites of the eyes is also pretty spooky.
Horrifying, yeah. And
Yeah.
also, what's the triangle? Like
And
an
no,
unholy trinity,
yeah,
probably.
something weird.
Something weird.
Um so okay, the idol looked vaguely African in origin, but a thorough investigation of the object revealed no clues to its history or identity. I don't like it, was the terse response from Tim's wife. No wonder it was hidden in the basement. Tim shrugged, placed it on the corner of his desk, and went back to wiring his new home. That night, Tim and his wife awoke to the cries of their son, who rushed into their room screaming about the, quote, little man.
No.
Yeah, no. According
No.
to the boy, the little man from the statue came into his bedroom, and as he watched in horror, the creature slowly tugged the covers off his body from the far end of his bed. Despite the fact that the same event was repeated for the better part of a week, the couple chalked it up to a child's imagination getting the best of him until it happened to them.
No.
So,
No! God,
I
no!
we should include that little meme on the posting.
Yeah, agreed.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So, several days after Tim discovered the idol and his son was plagued by nightmares of the little man, he and his wife began to experience terrible dreams themselves. So terrible that Tim refused to expound upon them. All I'll say is that they were the most vivid, detailed, and horrible dreams the two of us have ever had, he told me before quickly moving the story along. The nightmares were enough to convince Tim that the statue was placed in his crawlspace for a reason, and he quickly rewrapped the idol in its burlap bag, tied a big knot in the twine, and stuffed it back in the basement. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to be enough to appease the disturbed object. So he says all hell broke loose. In the weeks that followed, the family's nightmares gradually subsided, but strange activity began to ramp up in their home.
No.
Electronics and lights would flicker on and off, strange shadows would dart through the living room, and more than once the family would return from work to find their faucets running full blast.
What
Which
the fuck,
I
dude?
feel like that has happened in other stories. Is that
My
just like a,
parents.
yeah,
My
and
parents' stories.
is that
Yeah.
like a way to just
It's
say, hey?
they say it's a ghost thing, like a
Mhm.
spirit thing specifically. I don't know if this is like connected to like a haunted like not a haunted person, but a person who's died or like something
Right.
demonic. But
Mhm.
usually it's like a person, like a spirit will not turn faucets on, but will do things with water, like
Right.
manipulate water. Because I think the theory is water's easier to manipulate than other
Mhm.
like harder, solid physical objects.
Mhm.
So they
Interesting.
use it as, yeah,
Yeah.
something they can communicate with us
Mhm.
with.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and let's see, the final straw, Tim said, were the nights when he and his wife would hear what sounded like a group of people rummaging through their kitchen, slamming doors, and throwing silverware on the counters, only to find an empty room in disarray when investigated. So he
I
says,
feel like honestly, even if they hadn't taken it out and unwrapped it, I feel like it's almost like having discovered it at all is
mm-hmm,
what like triggered it.
yeah, I wonder. There's a little bit about that later in the story,
Okay.
but yeah, I kind of wish there was
Okay.
more of
Yeah.
like the potential folklore almost part of
Yeah.
this because I feel like it could be kind of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get a little bit of that
Okay.
soon.
Cool.
So, Tim said, I was getting ready to toss this statue in the trash, but I was always too worried about someone else finding it. So when I heard you say you collected haunted things on Coast to Coast the other night, I knew you were supposed to have it. I don't care what you do with it. Put it in your museum, burn it, whatever. He's your problem now. So, um, let's see. Then, when Greg is about to leave with this statue, he thinks like, okay, Tim, if I'm going to research this thing, and especially if it's going to live with me, it would be really helpful to know what you and your wife were dreaming about.
Oh.
Because he shared the little kids' dreams, but he needed to know what the parents were experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, I'm not going to tell you about my wife's nightmares, but I'll tell you this much. I had a dream that I held her, as in his wife, down, put a sharp rock to her chest, and cut her open. I heard her ribs crack,
Oh my
felt
god, it's your
the
nightmare.
yeah, felt the warmth of her blood. I can remember the way she screamed, everything. It was all so vivid. Then I dug out her heart with my bare hands and ate it. It wasn't a regular dream. It was absolutely terrible. Oh. I can't imagine anything
My
worse.
God.
Mm-hmm. That's way beyond a nightmare. That's,
That is
yeah.
so bad. That is so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
Oh my God.
yeah, clearly he's very upset at this point, shaking.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I have to leave. And again says, he's your problem now. So
I
he's really
wonder
trying
if
to.
the I wonder if the wife stream was doing something similar to the
Hmm.
child.
That's what I immediately thought too. Hmm.
God.
That is
Gross.
just, I can't imagine. That'll haunt
No.
them forever.
Forever.
Dreams
Yeah.
like that stick with you forever. It's
I have a
horrifying.
dream that I will never forget.
Yeah.
Ever, ever, ever. It's like ingrained in my memory. Even like scenes of it I can like conjure in my mind.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ugh.
It's
Oh my
awful.
God, those poor people.
Yeah. Terrorized. And yeah,
Yeah.
let's say it right now. This isn't going to happen to us after
No.
hearing about
Not
it.
welcome.
No,
Not welcome.
not at all.
Not at all.
So, um, okay, where did I leave off? Okay, here we go. The day after Greg and Tim met up, Greg and Dana were going to do another appearance on a radio show or something in
Mhm.
Wisconsin. So they were planning to bring the traveling museum along with them, and they were going to include this statue in their display. So they packed it up and they left for what would have been an 8-hour drive to Wisconsin. But just an hour into the trip, they started to have car trouble. And being that this is a big part of their livelihood, they have a really reliable car. It's always in good shape, and they've never had trouble with it before. But it started just breaking down pretty much. Like the
Wow.
engine kept stalling and sputtering out. Greg
What?
couldn't find any reasonable explanation for that. They were able to continue on, but then it started to like lurch and jerk. And at that time, the radio also kept turning off and on its own.
Ew.
And the what would have been the 8-hour drive ended up taking them 15 hours because they had to keep like
Oh,
fixing things and figuring out these problems.
oh
So
my God.
they tried not to jump to conclusions, but since this had never
Yeah.
happened before, it was like, okay, this is odd timing that we have
Mhm.
this new thing here.
Right.
What's going on? So they finally got there. They unwrapped this idol for, I guess it was called The Strange Escapees, was whatever show they were doing.
Okay.
And the reaction was a bit more extreme than we expected. Gasps from the crowd were accompanied by a whole lot of loud hell no's, and no one, save for myself,
Really?
yeah, it's creepy looking. You have to look at the
Okay.
picture.
Okay.
Um, let's see, and no one, save for myself and a couple brave guests, dared to handle the statue. Plenty of guests had their own theories on the origin of the item. Demonic possession, black magic, and total bullshit remain popular opinions. But the one thing that everyone
Always.
could,
Always a
of
popular
course,
opinion.
uh-huh. The one thing that everyone could agree on is that the idol is unsettling. Everything about it, from the way its ivory eyes seem to watch your every move, to its unnatural and elongated features, to the creepy shadow it casts when wrapped in its sack. The idol just looks like something you don't want to mess with. And maybe that
Ew.
was the problem. Maybe everyone's subconscious fears about the statue were just getting the best of them. But I think that's like a hopeful outlook that it's
Yeah. I
just
just I
making
just
it
pulled
up.
up the photo. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's like if I didn't know any context or backstory, it looks like an African, like a
Mm-hmm.
fertility doll
Yep.
almost, or like fertility statue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would assume
The
something bad
worst.
about
No.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
I think it does need the origin story, like that it
Yeah,
was wrapped up in a crawl space. Because it
yeah,
looks like it could be in a regular museum almost. Like
yeah,
for, yeah,
totally.
who
Yeah.
knows? But okay. As the event came to a close, I wrapped the idol back up in its burlap blanket and convinced myself that our earlier car troubles were just a coincidence. But little did I know that these kind of coincidences were going to start happening far too often.
Mm.
So, after they got back, Greg and Dana brought their car in for a full checkup, knowing that they would be traveling again soon. And of course, the mechanic found absolutely nothing wrong with the car.
Of course.
So they moved on, and a week later, they were back on the road, this time going to Kentucky, and they brought the idol with them again. And just 20 minutes after leaving the house, the car broke down.
Shit.
So they called the person who had gotten them the gig that they were going to let them know that they weren't going to make it. And being a paranormal investigator himself, this person connected them with a New Orleans voodoo princess or priestess.
Oh.
Princess and priestess.
Princess also.
And presumably
That sounds like a really good like yahoo.com email address. Voodoo
voodoo
Princess
princess.
88
Uh-huh.
at Yahoo.
Mhm. Yeah,
Dumb.
it's your AIM screen name. I love it. Voodoo Princess.
Voodoo Princess.
Yeah, so I think they probably went that route because it does look like it's probably African in origin. So, anyway, this person talked to this voodoo princess, and her first words were, "He didn't unwrap it, did he?" So that's the problem. Uh-huh.
Wait, does that mean though that you're like cursed forever even once you get rid of it?
I don't think so. Although
Okay.
maybe. I don't know.
Tim, are you okay, Tim? Are you out there?
Oh yeah, that's right. They didn't have any follow-up with him in this article, so hopefully they're okay now, but I don't know. Okay.
Positive assumptions.
Yeah, fingers crossed for them. I don't know.
Seriously.
But according to our voodoo priestess, the statue was placed in Tim's basement for a reason, good or bad, presumably bad in this scenario. And the act of unwrapping it confused it. It didn't know who Tim was, and worse, it doesn't know who I am, as in Greg, and why it's not in its home.
I
Her
see.
Yeah. Her recommendation was to create an altar, make an offering of rum and tobacco, and calmly explain to the idol where it was, who I was, and how it found its way to me. So
Interesting.
then she also recommended that the man, so Tim, who found it, purify the spot where he found the idol. And since it was tasked badly, the family should all take sea salt baths and scrub the floors and entryways with pure ammonia. So,
Oh,
kind of interesting to learn
yeah.
that part. Okay. An African effigy could have been put there for 1,000 reasons and tasked with 1,000 jobs. When disturbed, it should be talked to and retasked. It could also
Oh,
house,
interesting.
yeah, very interesting. It could also
Huh.
house thousands of spirits, but its job depends on who put it there. One would hope it was for protection, but could have been otherwise. Officially, I would put in a week-long ritual to cleanse and baptize, then reestablish it properly. So, yeah, very interesting. This, like, it's an entity all its own,
Yeah.
seemingly,
Like
from
a
this.
vessel for
Mhm.
1,000 different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, it could be good, could be bad. I think in this case,
Yeah.
it's definitely bad, unless it's
Bad.
just
Yeah.
acting out, it's very
Yeah.
confused and being
Yeah.
bad. But
Like naughty.
yeah,
What?
you bad boy.
Naughty little effigy.
Mhm.
You've been a bad,
Mhm.
bad effigy.
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
exactly like that.
This is definitely
So
going to be the episode title.
a
Dumb.
bad
Yeah,
effigy.
effigy.
Oh my
uh,
god. Okay, here we go. In many cases, a statue is buried as part of a ritual intended to curse someone. Once cast, the idol was wrapped in burlap and buried somewhere it wouldn't be disturbed. This was a particularly important detail in the ritual, as any further fiddling with the object would result in the curse being visited upon the individual who cast it.
right. Okay.
Yeah. So, close inspection of the idol revealed a thin layer of dirt and dried mud caked in its cracks, hinting that it had been, at one time, buried. Why it ended up in Tim's crawl space is another mystery altogether. But when Tim clipped the twine binding the idol, he set a chain of events into motion, much like waking someone from a decades-long slumber.
Hmm.
So,
And his whole family was present when he clipped it too,
mm-hmm, yes.
which,
Yeah, and
yeah.
probably handled it and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes on and says, considering the apparent age of the object, there's a good chance that whoever originally cast the curse is long dead, resulting in the attached spirit being very confused and adrift. So,
Yeah.
like it said, it could bounce back onto the person who cast it, but if that person isn't around anymore,
Right.
it's just bouncing around, not knowing.
Yeah.
Um, so then he tries all these things that she says, but Greg, does start to have nightmares.
Oh
Um,
no.
so let's see. He says, I was in a crowded public space, one that felt like a bus station. As I watched the hustle and bustle of the people moving through the giant room, I became keenly aware that I was being watched. Normally, this is the part of the dream where I wake up because this is a recurring dream for him. But in this instance, I began to scan the crowd for the pair of eyes that were burning a hole in my head. That's when I noticed a small man, more like an imp, draped in a muddy brown cloak, peering out from behind a group of people who didn't notice him there. He stood
Hmm.
about 3 feet tall, and his face was black and shiny as an inkwell, save for his bright blue eyes, which were staring intensely at me. It wasn't until I realized that the cloak the little man was wrapped in, was made of burlap that my mind put two and two together.
Oh.
This was a humanoid personification of the idol. And
Yeah.
though the creature never said a word, he was clearly sending the message that he was watching me. So, and he
Oh.
says, so far, a variation of this same dream occurs every time I handle the idol.
Hmm. Interesting. It's very different from the dreams Tim and his
Mm-hmm.
wife had. So it's like
Yes.
it knows Greg isn't the target of
Mm-hmm.
its task, whatever it was, but
Right.
it's like, I don't know that I trust you.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
watching you.
watching. I know. That's so scary.
Ugh,
That's
it
similar
is.
vibe to the crone again, where she like at
Yeah.
the very last part was like, I took the nails
Mhm.
and he swallowed them or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh
They're
my
all
God. Yeah.
watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yikes. But then I'm just gonna summarize the last part. They had a show, I guess, on Halloween of
Oh, fun.
2015 at the Carnegie Library in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And let's see. He says, interesting to note is that before we loaded the museum up into the adventure mobile, they call it, we sat the idol down, offered it some rum and tobacco, and calmly explained where we were going and why. In case you're wondering what that might look like, it's about as embarrassing as you might imagine, but not as embarrassing as breaking down at Denny's. And we didn't experience a single automotive issue the entire trip after they started to do these, like, sit
Yeah.
down and talk with him.
Yeah.
So let's see. They brought out the idol during this show. The usual gasps and proclamations of no thanks filled the air, but this time the crowd seemed far more interested in actually holding it.
Oh.
So they gave these
Oh, like an
people,
energetic shift for
yes,
sure.
yeah, which is interesting.
Very
Um,
interesting.
but they still obviously had to give the disclaimer or the warning of like, this is what has happened. So
Mhm.
handle at your own risk. But let's see, someone named TJ, who is the event organizer, he held the idol for 5 minutes. He just stood in place, turning the idol over in his hands and inspecting it before handing it back.
It's a
Um,
long time.
yeah, very long. And nothing happened to him. He walked away unaffected. But then a woman toward the front of the crowd wanted to hold it. She had it in her arms. And let's see, as she carefully pulled the idol away from me, she whispered that she had a sense about things, a trait that ran in her family, and she was eager to see what kind of feelings she might get off of the object. So she's
Mm.
like in tune.
Yeah.
And no sooner did the idol leave my hands than the woman suddenly seized up, her body becoming stiff as a board. Her face pulled tight, brow furrowed, and her eyes darted directly to mine. The only way to describe her eyes was pure rage. She began to shake back
Whoa.
and forth. Her eyes locked on me, and strange words began to sputter from her clenched jaw.
Oh
So
my God.
she had like
It
a.
like possessed her.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Oh my God, I'm covered
I
in
know. I know.
goosebumps.
Because she was probably looking at him, like channeling what the
Mm-hmm.
idol was
Yeah,
feeling about
for
Greg.
sure.
So, yeah, they got it away from her, and as soon as she let go, her body relaxed, and she kept apologizing, like, I don't know what just happened. But obviously, everyone was very disturbed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh my God. Well, and also that first guy who held it for so long, after seeing that,
mhm,
even if he had weird dreams, like I wouldn't follow up. Like I'd
except
be
he
like,
did.
"Oh shit!" Wow,
Yeah.
the plot
Uh-huh.
thickens.
I know.
Wow, this is like the best.
I know. This is
And I'm so
such,
in the dark.
yeah, it's such a good story.
It's
And
such a good one. Holy shit.
yeah, he did
Oh
have some experiences after handling
my
it.
God.
So TJ sent an email. He'd had increasingly vivid nightmares immediately following his handling of the idol.
Oh my God.
On the first night, just a day after the event, oh, this is in TJ's voice.
Oh, okay.
I saw the idol sitting in my dog's crate when I went to put her away so I could go to work. The next night, I was sitting on the
Weird.
couch watching TV with Katie. I believe we were watching Big Bang Theory, and images of the idol would flash on the screen between the scene cuts. I kept asking Katie if she saw
Wait.
it, and she thought I was nuts.
Oh my God, that's so
I
scary.
know! Yeah, because this
Like
idol
he's
is
just
definitely
seeing
not
it.
on TV. It's not the
Oh
star of Big Bang Theory.
shit. No, definitely not.
Yeah,
Although that might spice it up. I hate
I
that
know.
show.
I agree. I hate that show too.
So annoying.
um, Okay, then the third night I was on an airplane, and I'm not sure where I was going to, but the seat next to me was vacant. Suddenly, we hit
Okay.
bad turbulence, and I freaked out. I look over, and the idol is next to me. So this one was a dream. Um,
Oh, I was like, what?
yeah, no, no. Then the last dream happened 2 days after the third night. I woke up, came downstairs, and it was sitting on my dining room table with a note. The note
Oh.
was from you, as in Greg, stating
Oh.
you wanted me to have it. I tried to contact you and Dana via your phones, but your number didn't exist, and Dana's number
Saying,
went.
no, I don't want it.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
Oh
um,
my God.
yeah, Dana's number went to some guy. He said I had the wrong number. I went on social media, and you both did not exist on there either.
Oh shit. That's like a nightmare.
It is a
It is
nightmare.
a
Yeah,
nightmare.
literal. Yep. uh,
Stupid. It's like a nightmare.
it's just a nightmare. It literally is a nightmare.
Literally is a nightmare. But
Hmm.
being stuck with it, like that's just oh
Yeah, you can't get rid of it. Um, let's see. So they weren't on social media. I pulled out my phone and saw our old text messages and tried to text you, but I got a reply from my carrier saying that the number was not found. Not knowing what to do and worried about the effect the idol might have on me, I mailed it back to you to your return address. It showed up a week later as return to sender. I Google mapped it and it just showed a road with fields. I woke up really shaken by the entire thing. The last time the idol appeared, I wasn't asleep. This was last Thursday, I think. I was driving to work and it was a bit foggy on this road I take to the highway. The idol showed up in the middle of the road. I saw it ahead of me, started to slow down, and it disappeared. I wasn't tired or anything. I was so shaken that I had to pull over. So
Oh my God.
that's pretty much where it ends. Like, there's no real resolution to this story.
Yeah.
The idol is still on display with their museum if you want to see it. I don't know. I think we checked that they're still doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They're still doing the museum, but they don't have the live stream anymore.
right. Yeah, because there was a live stream of the idol at one time.
Yeah. And the crone
Yeah.
together, I think,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Yeah.
That's just like so much scary shit to have in your house.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. I don't
And
know
then
how
you're
they
just
live.
like, yeah, like something weird happens in my house all the time, but it's just because like I hung up my towel weird and it
Mm-hmm.
fell. You know,
Right.
it's like things that are not otherworldly by any means, but
Mm-hmm.
like you would never know for sure.
Right.
You
Yeah.
could explain it away all you want, but what if
Mm-hmm.
it's something like malicious? And then like with the crone where the TV almost fell on his head,
I know.
like some of
Yeah.
these are like not to be messed with.
Right. They're very dark. Yeah. It's scary.
Bro.
So I renounce any nightmares, but
I renounce any and all nightmares.
I will say
I declare
that
bankruptcy.
exactly. You have to declare it or it's not
You to
real.
declare it.
um, but so when we did Crone of the Catskills, I read
Mhm.
some of this story about the idol um, when I was doing that research.
Mhm.
And the night that you were smelling pond water in your
Oh
apartment,
no.
I went to bed early, and Dave came
Okay.
in later, and he said that I was like kicking and punching the air when he came in. Like, and
What?
I don't remember having any
You don't
nightmares.
remember the
I
dream?
wasn't awake, but it was like I was fighting for my life.
Funny, but
So,
it's a little bit
was I
funny.
having a nightmare? Like, I just don't remember or what was happening to
Weird.
me. But I don't know. It was kind of bizarre. I don't know if it's connected,
That
but
is
it just
bizarre.
happened.
That is very bizarre. I have to just say one thing before I tell you mine.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in high school, I used to carpool with one of my like really close childhood friends. Her name's Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And because this was before I could drive. So before I had my license, she was a year older. So she used to drive us. And there's this like really curvy, like really windy, hilly back road to get to our high school
Mm-hmm.
that we would take to avoid traffic. And when you round this one hill, there was this little, like, probably 2 foot tall, like pig statue. And it was
Uh-huh.
like a pig with like a chef's outfit on, but it was all like
Oh,
terracotta. It was all one color.
yeah.
And it was clearly meant to be like a garden gnome, but it was a pig.
Mm-hmm.
And we, I can't remember. Yeah. So one year, and we would see it and we thought it was just like cute and funny. Like it would just
Mm-hmm.
crack us up that there was this like little pig.
Yeah.
And one year one day we round the corner around like in November, and it had a little Santa hat on. And
Oh.
we laughed so hard. And then like 2 weeks later, it was gone. Like before Christmas, it was gone. And we were like,
Oh.
what? So we literally went out and bought another Santa hat. And I'm literally just, when you said he saw it in the road, I was like, put a Santa hat on, it'd be a lot
Uh-huh.
less scary.
Yeah, that's true. That really calms it down.
Absolutely. Yeah. It takes it down
Mhm.
a few pegs.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Oh,
little
how
pig really
funny.
cracked me up. I know, so
Cute.
funny. Um, okay, should I tell you about mine?
Yes, please. Yeah, I
My
have
little witch.
no idea what you're doing, so I'm excited.
Well, so I'm covering La Sayona, which is
Yes.
another, of course, like wailing woman.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of close connection to many others that we've covered, which makes sense because there is a
Yeah.
lot in this kind of vein. But I'll tell you the legend of La Sayona first. So, supposedly, there was this woman named Casilda who lived on the Venezuelan plains in a very small town. Life was super peaceful, not much to worry about. She was super pretty, like, prettiest girl in town, married to a loving husband, all of that. They had a son. From the outside, it seemed like she had this like perfect little life, she and her family. But apparently, under the surface, she was violently jealous, like
Hmm.
super jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once she was swimming in a river near the village naked, where a man from the village spotted her. She told him to get lost, leave her alone, but the man didn't listen. So he would start to follow her and watch her bathing in the river.
Hmm.
And then he told her that he was there to warn her and that he was
Oh.
there because her husband was having an affair with her mother.
Oh no. Could it be
But it was a
worse?
rumor. It was a rumor.
Okay.
Like it
Yeah.
was made up by this
Yeah.
creepy guy who just
Uh-huh.
wanted to watch her bathe. But she like latched onto it and
Right.
believed it
Believed.
so deeply,
Mm-hmm.
like she was just full of rage. So she ran home to her husband, found him inside with their son sleeping in his arms. So like
Mm-hmm.
little peaceful, sweet
Yeah.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
But she was so enraged, she set the house on fire without asking him
Oh.
for the truth. The villagers heard their screams as both the husband and the son burned to death inside the house.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, Casilda was on her way to her mother's house,
Oh.
sitting on
Uh-oh.
her patio. And obviously, the mother did not get the chance to explain either, as Casilda attacked her with a machete and
Oh my
stabbed her to
God.
death in the stomach. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Wow.
mother bled to death slowly, but not before she managed to curse her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So she told Casilda that from then on, she would avenge all of the women with cheating husbands, and whether her mother and husband really had an affair, she would never know the answer, which was
Mm.
destined to drive her mad.
Yeah.
So she was from then on known as La Sayona, who's this like wailing woman, witch kind of vibe
Mm-hmm.
who hunts cheating men by conquering them and
Hmm.
then killing them.
Okay.
So there are tons of variations on the story. Some are from other places. She's originally, the legend is from Venezuela, but there's like Colombian one. There's some others.
Mm-hmm.
She, in some variations, can shapeshift into animals or even like monsters.
Mm.
Um, in some, she can scream like a banshee that can be heard from super long distances. What they all have in common is that the men pay the price of her
Mm-hmm.
wrath. Um, it's also, of course, grouped together, this legend, with other kind of ghost stories about female spirits haunting highways and,
Yeah.
after men take their anger out on them and then they revenge whoever they hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Very similar to La Llorona in terms of the like jilted, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not jilted in the case of La Sayona,
Right.
but basically cursed to
Mm-hmm.
kind of like feel that rage forever and try to find a way
Yeah.
to make it better. The Onryo, which was a one we covered in a Japanese
Oh
episode,
yeah.
which is that like woman in all white with the long, like wet
Mm-hmm.
black hair.
Yep.
There's one called a virgin ghost in Korea, which is
Hmm.
just like so blatantly written by a man. It's this belief that unmarried women who die before they're wed off are so full of remorse that they're unable to go on to the afterlife. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah,
No.
I doubt that. I really doubt
Okay.
that. Um, and then the last one I wanted to just like do a quick mention for is La Descarnada.
Hmm.
And this one is a stretch of highway from Santa Ana to Chalchuapa in El Salvador. There's a legend of La Descarnada, which means fleshless in
Mm-hmm.
English, apparently.
Yeah. Yuck.
She's a you're sitting there like, yeah, I know. She's a vengeful spirit that lures and seduces men that she meets on her way. At first, she looks beautiful, young, and healthy, but when she has the man in her claws, she shows herself in her true form, which is a rotting, living skeleton.
Mm.
So, flesh.
Ew. Yeah. Gross.
So, I wanted to pull a couple of stories from Reddit or just like encounters that people have shared on the internet with La
Mm-hmm.
Sayona. And then, of course, people have kind of a hard time differentiating between a lot of these things. So, depending on where you are in Mexico versus parts of
Mm-hmm.
Central or South America, people aren't convinced that it's not one over the other just based on your location. So, I have a
Right.
couple that I'll read that are creepy.
Okay.
So this one is from Gabby, spelled Gabie 0, on Reddit. And the title is Encounter in Mexico That I Will Never Forget.
Mm.
So myself and my friends needed a holiday, and we decided to go to Mexico for a week. There were 4 girls and 5 guys that were due to go. I typically thought if, there's going to be tequila and chill time, it's going to be the best. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
have so much fun. So we spent all the cash that we had, and in the end, we had to use cards to pay for things as a backup, but no biggie, but we didn't really plan super well. So we went to go to a bar, and I started a tab, and I gave them my card to keep until I paid at the end of the night. So it stopped us from walking out and forgetting to pay for drinks, of course. And so we got to the bar around 7 o'clock. We were just drinking and having a fun time. And then the screams began.
Oh
We were
God.
at a bar that had a road behind it that backed into the woods. Everyone in the bar heard the screams, but didn't react as if they did.
Huh.
So me and my friends stopped drinking and were like, what the fuck is that noise? We looked around and the other people in the bar were just casually sipping their drinks.
Mm.
The owner of the bar yelled something in Spanish to the other workers, and straight away they were at the windows pulling the curtains over all the windows in the bar. The owner even dimmed the
Oh,
lights and ran and double locked the door.
oh my
I kid
gosh.
you not. Yeah. I kid you not. It was like watching something out of a film. The other people in the bar weren't reacting to it and just shrugged it off like it was like a normal daily thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas myself and my friends were just staring at each other like, what the fuck? Like mouthing profanities. Everyone was quiet. So we took it as we had to be as well. So everyone's just like being quiet and not reacting except for them. And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So the owner was at the bar and had his hand on the counter and also gripping a shotgun, staring at the door. Yeah. My friend got up and walked over to the bar to ask the owner what was going on. Jake, I guess, literally got up out of his seat and looked up at the owner before the owner put his hand out to Jake and motioned for him to sit back down. Without knowing what else to do, Jake sat back down. And then the noise started again. It sounded like someone being torn limb from limb and letting out the most piercing, agonizing scream I've ever heard in my whole life. There'd be a scream and then a very high pitched animal type scream right away,
Mm.
right after. I'm sorry I can't describe it better, but it sounded like it was making these two noises at the same time.
Whoa.
So that kind of like double pitched
Yeah.
weird
Oh God.
sound.
Mm-hmm.
The hair was standing up on my neck and I was getting goosebumps. The noise seemed to start at the back of the bar and you could tell it was moving. It
Whoa.
made its way outside the windows and then it was at the door. I was
Mm.
100% freaked out by this time. The noise was right outside the door and no longer moving. I looked around and everyone in the bar was now frozen and just staring at the door, apart from the owner with his hand still on the gun. 2 loud thuds at the door, and it sounded like it was slamming itself against the door, still making this awful noise.
Wow.
No one inside moved. Then it's scratching at the door. Silence still in the bar. After what seemed like half an hour, we heard the scream slowly move back into the forest. People started talking again, and I for sure did not want to stay in that pub any longer. I jumped up, ran over to the bar, said I wanted to pay for my drinks. The owner didn't have a problem with that, but he said, you and your friends can have drinks on me if you promise to stay the night. The bar will stay
Mm.
open all night, and we don't want anyone to leave. And they said,
Wow.
"What the hell are you talking about? Like, we're not staying here."
Mm-hmm.
And the bartender, she was like, "I'm sorry, but we already have a hotel booked. It's only a short walk away." And she's like looking over at her friends, like, "Please come over and help me with this guy. He's being creepy."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "No, you don't understand. If you go outside, it will get you.
Oh God.
Free drinks. Yeah, free drinks, and in the morning you can go." Well, we stayed and it was a very fun night. We had free drinks, played some drinking games, didn't go to sleep the whole night, and in the morning made it back to the hotel where we all crashed. Seriously? What the hell was that?
Uh-huh.
So, of course, like most people's first reaction, it's Mexico, not the safest place on earth. So at the beginning of the story, it's like this has got to be some sort of like gang violence thing
Mm-hmm.
or cartel, weird, like creepy shit
Yeah.
happening. But as it goes on, that seems less and less likely.
Yeah.
Um, and this person summed it up to basically reference the La Llorona or La Sayona, potentially one of
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah.
This user's name is Zadchiel, Zadchiel.
Hmm.
And they say, "Well, my friend, for what you're saying, I highly doubt it was some kind of gang or a victim of a gang, since they would probably be calling for help instead of screaming like that."
Yeah.
As a Latino, I can pretty much say it was La Llorona or La Sayona, which are
Okay.
basically the same but have differences in their lore. Since you're in Mexico, I'll stick with La Llorona. So there you get like some of the
Mm-hmm.
like weird regional kind of stuff. La Llorona is basically a tortured soul, ghoul, ghost who roams towns or small cities looking for her children. That she herself drowned before killing herself. She screams and cries like you described, and on occasion bangs on the doors of people's houses, apparently on the doors of bars too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing you didn't leave. It's believed that after you hear her scream, no matter what, she can find you. So
Whoa.
that's why people didn't want you to leave and why no
Mm-hmm.
one at the bar left, because no one else left the bar either.
Yeah.
Everybody stayed.
Wow.
Um, yeah, he said, "In my country, we grew up listening to these tales. It's part of our folklore, so everybody knows, but understandable why you didn't. You're not from
Mm-hmm.
here."
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's scary.
yeah. Someone else talked about a couple more people say maybe La Sayona, also La Lechuza, who
Oh
we
yeah.
covered a while ago, the owl witch.
Yeah, with the
Um,
hair.
the hair. It's terrifying to think about, though.
Yeah,
Like, in the images are funny,
right.
but scary.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I mean, La Lechuza, what this person says is like they're actually feared even more than La Llorona or even like chupacabras because
Mm.
it could be anyone that practices witchcraft or black
Yeah.
magic. So, like, anyone could be La Lechuza. It's not like one entity that you happen to cross paths with or whatever.
Yeah, interesting.
So that one was creepy. And
Mhm.
then this one is specifically a La Llorona experience, but I just had to share it because it was a
Yeah.
good one.
Okay.
And this is from DJ Underdog, spelled DAWG 85.
Oh, way cooler.
Yeah, way cooler. So they say, "This happened to me when I was about 11 years old. It was the 90s. I have lived my whole life in El Paso, Texas. The culture is rich in folklore and religious beliefs. Many Hispanic families have stories of the paranormal. One popular legend is the legend of the Weeping Woman, aka La Llorona. The legend of La Llorona, Spanish for the Weeping Woman, has been a part of Hispanic culture in the Southwest since the days of the conquistadors. Tall, thin spirit is said to be blessed with natural beauty and long flowing black hair. Wearing a white gown, she roams the rivers and creeks, wailing into the night, searching for children to drag screaming to a watery grave."
Uh-huh. Super fun.
um, yeah, there's a lot of confusion around where the legend of La Llorona truly began or from where it originated. Tales vary from source to source, but one common thread: she's the spirit of a doomed mother who drowned her children and now spends eternity searching for them in rivers and lakes, which we've now heard several times.
Mhm.
One night, a night just like any other, I lived in a trailer with my mom and dad, and my youngest brother was staying with my aunt this night. I fell asleep watching Jay Leno as usual, and when I woke up, I was on the sofa in my living room. The time was 4 a.m., which was illuminated from the stove in the kitchen. The television was off, and normally I had a light on, but this time it was pitch black. I woke up and I heard a horrible screaming that was coming from far in the distance. Screaming was coming from a ditch that was a few feet away from my house. I heard it and I thought at first I was hearing things. I asked myself, am I dreaming? And then I started to hear the animals outside howling and whimpering. These animals that I'm speaking of are cats and dogs, like normal animals to have
Yeah.
around.
Right.
As the screaming got closer, the animals continued to cry. The screaming was something I had never experienced before. It sounded like I was in a big hallway and a woman was screaming her guts out at the end of that same hallway. Then, in all the screaming, I started to make out words. These words were
Oh.
being said by whoever this was, screaming at 4 a.m., and they shocked me. It was a woman's voice saying, "Ay, mis hijos," which is,
Oh.
"Oh, my
Yeah.
children."
Oh.
So, in a panic, I quickly got up from the sofa, ran to the kitchen, which was right next to where I was asleep. I turned the closest light on and looked around, and the screaming didn't stop. In fact, it got louder and closer, and I was questioning my sanity at that point. Felt like maybe I was going crazy. And then I thought to myself, this is real. The animals are responding to it in a negative way. So I did what any other 11-year-old boy would do in a moment like this. I ran to my mom and dad's room. I reached for my mom and shook her awake wildly. She woke up slowly, and to my amazement, the screaming faded as she became more and more awake. I thought to myself, what the heck is going on? I told my mom, do you hear that screaming lady crying? And she was like, mom was half asleep as she said, go back to sleep. It's probably just your imagination. I told her, no, this is real. Please listen. Don't you hear her? And my mom quickly just said, you're dreaming. So go back to sleep and it's going to be okay. By then, the screaming had faded, as if whoever was screaming knew that an adult was awake now. I was terrified as I returned to the living room and quickly turned on the TV as I left most of the lights on as well. I didn't go back to sleep until the sun came up, and I couldn't believe what I had heard or witnessed. I was treated like a crazy person whenever I told my story, so I started to keep my experience to myself. But at this point, I don't care what people think about it. I know what I heard. And then they say, as an update, a couple years later, something similar happened to them again. And they share a different story on another thread, but it's very similar. So super creepy. And that idea that once I don't know if we'd ever read that once you hear her scream, she can find you.
Oh, yeah, no. I don't think
That's scary as hell.
Yeah, that is.
I didn't know that part. That's fucking scary.
Yeah, very.
So,
Oh, she's
anywho,
a scary
avoid.
lady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she a real scary lady.
Yeah.
So, La Lechuza, La Llorona, La Sayona, just like
Yeah.
hard
Well,
pass.
watch out. Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I know that's like kind of the point sometimes of sharing stories with kids of like, don't do
Hmm.
that, or La
Yeah.
Llorona will get
But like,
you.
do what?
But
Like, just
yeah,
be a kid
anything. Because
around a body of water?
yeah, they told us that story when I was in elementary school because I
Hmm.
went to a bilingual school, so there was a lot of
Hmm.
Spanish influence there. And I have vivid memories of being in places and thinking La Llorona is hiding in there, and like she's gonna get me. So
That's so mean.
she has like a place in my fear
Yeah.
as a
Oh,
child.
yeah.
Like she's scary.
Understandable.
Yeah,
That's so scary.
yeah. But
Oh, little kid.
yeah. Also, while we're talking about that, we were talking about this a little bit. There's a
Yeah.
podcast called Spooked, and there was a
Yeah.
really good episode recently about
Mhm.
brujeria, witchcraft in Mexico. And if you haven't
Ooh.
listened to Spooked, you should. This was, I think it was
Yeah.
called Las Muñecas, was the episode title.
Oh, yeah.
And oh, it was so good.
It was
So,
so good.
highly recommend.
I binged like 6 or 7 episodes, I think, on a flight from Montreal back to Toronto.
Yeah.
So good. And they're so
Hmm.
quick. It's like,
Yeah.
because the intros too are kind of weird. So
Yeah.
sometimes I listen, sometimes I just
Yeah.
skip
Skip
them.
it. Same.
But then I'm like, those main stories, and I loved that one. Like the way he
Yeah.
told it and his voice,
Hmm.
I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah, that was
just,
a really good one.
yeah, unbelievable story. Like,
Yeah,
so cool. But
so
yeah.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah, I loved
horrifying,
it.
but also cool.
Also horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, also cool. Well, shit. Well, that is our episode, folks.
Yes.
We will be back next week. You can follow us at Girls Gone Spooky on all social, and
Mhm.
you can watch these episodes if you've been listening, but you want to
Yeah.
watch. You can watch them on YouTube at Girls Gone Spooky. Abby, hey.
Hey.
And also email us your spooky stories at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. We love you. Stay spooky, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay